Alright, so we're doing more Steven Revisi-Verse today. We're looking at some more of my old theories. Specifically today, I have planned for you guys 3 theories that I'm pretty sure are my only theories that are explicitly about it, but 3 theories explicitly about the Pyramid Temple mural. And, well, one of these is much newer than the other ones and uses a lot of context I didn't have when I was making the earlier ones. I feel like this is something that's worth talking about all at once, right? At this point, though, as far ahead as I'm jumping with this, I need to start keeping a list of which of these I've done and which ones I haven't. Because eventually I'm going to forget that I did one. Do it again. It's going to be very embarrassing. Yeah, the Pyramid Temple is such an interesting thing. And, like, there's so many different things you could say about it. Like, it is probably just a depiction of the war that uses character designs and imagery that they hadn't quite hammered out yet when they put it in the episode. And that's fine, if that's what it is. Like, that's perfectly fine. That makes sense in the context of the show. But I see absolutely no reason why we as a fandom can't still go back and theorize about what else it could be to make it more canon compliant. It's like Easter eggs, for example. Easter eggs in a show. Like, or a video game, or whatever. Like a pretty notorious example is it Fallout 2? One of the old school Fallouts. If you... Is it with Wasteland, or Wild Wasteland? Or am I thinking of a different one that uses Wild Wasteland to unlock some of this stuff? You can see the TARDIS in it, though. That's the point. You can come across in the overworld the TARDIS from Doctor Who disappearing, like taking off. And clearly it's just an Easter egg. But that Easter egg still happened in the game. The TARDIS from Doctor Who is still canon to Fallout, to the Fallout universe. And there's no reason why people in the fandom with an interest in such things can't or shouldn't theorize about how and why that is and try to make it fit in canon and make it canon compliant. There are some people who are super opposed to this, and I just don't understand that. So even if there was a different intention for what the mural is, I still think, as prominent as it was, and as prominent as it was in people's theories for such a long time, it is absolutely worthwhile to look back at this mural and its wonky designs for what was probably enemies at the time, or the diamonds themselves, just not finalized yet, and try to make it compliant with what we saw in canon. And so I feel like it is worth it to go back and look at some of these old theories. We're going to be looking at 1.25 times speed again, because I felt like that worked really well for the last one of these. The last couple, I think I did that. It makes things flow better, I think. And so this first one is only like 5 minutes long, so, you know, it's going to be less than that at faster speed. And I've got 3 of these. These are History or Prophecy, Humans Fought with Rose, and then the much newer one, which... When are these other ones from? They're about a year apart-ish. One about Hessonite and the Light Prism. Because my current working headcanon is that the events that ended up in the Light video games were a dropped story from the show that the events of the mural were a foreshadowing. And I think that's all the times I talked about the mural. I'm looking through my list, and I don't see any more that seem to be explicitly about the mural. Like, I've been clear that I don't remember my old theories too well. Yeah, that looks like the last one. There's another one where I'm in denial about Rose being Pink Diamond. Those are always fun. We're gonna get into my Pink Diamond rant phase eventually, and that's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really fun. Yeah, it looks like that's the last one. I'm just double checking real quick. So let's get into the first of these and get through it super fast because it's incredibly short and definitely would not play to the YouTube algorithm these days. But I've never really done that anyway, so it doesn't even matter. And then my screen capture device wasn't picking up system audio, so I have to do some of this over again. I'm very excited about that. Let's jump right into this then. This is still set. Yeah, this is still set right. Okay.
I spent a lot of time looking at this mural. For those of you who don't remember,
yeah, I really did.
For the entirety of the existence of the Steven Universe fandom, this is the mural seen on the ceiling of the Pyramid Temple in Episode 8, Sirius Steven. And I'll tell you this right off the bat: theorists have gotten a lot of mileage out of this thing. For a while, theorists thought that the figures in this mural were rose quartz, white diamond, blue diamond, and yellow diamond.
Yep.
And a lot of people still think that. I no longer do. I think that white diamond's here, but I think the others are something of an unknown. However, because it resembles this image of the presumed white diamond descending to Earth in a triangular ship, and instead the triangular hair is meant to suggest that this is Peridot.
That's an interesting take. I honestly didn't remember what this video was about until I started watching it. That's an interesting take. Like you've got the drill shape, you've got Peridot in it, and then you've got the cluster's hands reaching up. I could definitely see why I thought this at the time. It still kind of works. It still kind of works as like a sapphire vision of that. That just like maybe they didn't have enough context for it at the time to know what the hell it was. So they put it here hoping that somebody in the future would. But then you would expect that like Garnet would have considered this place to be more important than it was. I don't know.
Best guess, the Pyramid Temple was put up somewhere between 5,000 and 4,500 years ago. How could someone possibly know that the events of Gem Drill would occur? Is it...
Future vision, AJ. Future vision.
Is it possible that this mural we've been looking at as a piece of history, as a recording of history, is in fact a recording of prophecy?
I should start doing that more often.
Yeah, it is entirely possible that gems could see the future like this. Back in The Answer, before Sapphire realized that choices could change her visions, she just assumed that the first future that she saw each time she looked, the most likely future, was the one that was going to happen.
Yep.
What if something similar happened here? What if some future vision-equipped gem on the homeworld side looked far into the future, saw these events happen, and without realizing what they were, what exactly they meant, in some way influenced this mural to be made?
That's a good point. If this mural is something that Homeworld put here, and that's very likely considering that the sister to the Pyramid Temple, the sister facility that's beneath it, that we learn about in the light video games, was a Homeworld facility as well, then maybe Garnet didn't realize the importance of this as a piece of prophecy because she didn't understand that it wasn't just some weird Homeworld art. I'm actually really liking this theory again. Because if I'm not mistaken, my current headcanon mostly concerns this portion of the mural. I also, we never think about this. There's other sections of the mural that I don't think we ever see. And I really want to know what's on them, man. Really bad. This reminds me of the Cincinnati Museum Center has stuff like this on its like high walls and ceilings. This kind of that reminds me of, but that's entirely off topic.
However, I find it highly unlikely, and I'm going to discuss why. First of all, if we go from left to right here, which is presumably the direction that our eyes are supposed to go, considering that this show is storyboarded by people who read, write, and speak English, we can see that the next panel here shows Rose Quartz fighting someone. I've theorized this gem to be Lapis Lazuli, but we now know Lapis Lazuli's backstory and that she didn't ever have a fight with Rose. Of course, if these panels are images of a prophecy and not of recorded history, then that stops being a problem. Maybe Lapis's fight with Rose hasn't happened yet. The issue with that is, Rose doesn't exist anymore, except as part of her son, Steven Universe. So unless some image of Rose is...
Okay, but what I'm missing here, and this is a testament to how far I've come, these don't have to be all one story. They can each panel can be a different story. Come on, past AJ, I'd say you're not that stupid, but you're proving that you are with each passing second of this. Because if these are all prophecies, then this would have been made before the events of the war, and the stuff with the original like uses of the what were they called? the prisms wouldn't have happened until the war, so that still tracks. This still tracks. I'm liking this one. I'm agreeing with this one. I think I'm right about this one. I am declaring myself correct about this theory. See, this is the privilege I have adopted since the show is no longer on the air anymore and creating new lore. I could just decide I'm right if I want to.
Fourth figure here, off to the right, has long since been theorized to be Yellow Diamond.
Yeah, but it's
and
not.
yeah, it does bear some superficial similarities to Yellow
No,
Diamond.
it doesn't.
And yeah, the background to its panel does appear to be vaguely yellowish compared to the rest of the mural. Is it possible that it's Yellow Diamond? Sure. If that's the case, then this very definitely could be an image of something that takes place in the future of the show.
Yeah, Yellow's showing up. It doesn't look at all like her, though, except that its gem seems to be in its chest. So, I mean, that's just the rest of the video, it looks like. So that was fun. I enjoyed that one, and I'm also correct about it. So let's go to the next one and talk about that one. Humans fought with Rose, which is just like, if you look, this one's not going to be very exciting. Let's find a picture of it. If you look here, I theorize that these are humans. They're probably not. Like they're probably like, I don't know, because the main theory is that, because we see similar figures down here, that, like, my theory was that they used humans and ran them through here to test what the deal was with humans, because Rose seems so interested in them, right? Or something along those lines. We'll see in a second. And like maybe this scene here is a depiction of her, like, liberating humans from this facility at some point during the war, right? That's possible, right? Let's just jump into this.
Let's talk about the idea that Rose had human supporters during the war. And yes, I am talking about the war that took place some 5,500 years ago. So these would be ancient humans.
Of course.
To be entirely honest, this is an idea that I thought that a lot of fans had already accepted, but when I expressed my belief in this theory in a now not too recent video, many of you commented your surprise. So I decided to
I wonder which video that was. I don't even remember anymore.
go back and check for myself what exactly all of the evidence for this theory really was. And I've put it together in this video for all of you today. This video is going to focus on a few key pieces of evidence. There
really
are
liked
occasional
this
hints elsewhere throughout the series
scene
that
of
human
Pearl
beings
for a
fought with
while.
Rose. I mentioned in my history or prophecy video that theorists continue to come back to the Pyramid Temple
Yeah.
constantly because of how much food for speculation it offers.
Just
So while
look
we're
at
going
it,
to
it's
start out
magnificent.
in the upper mural that we've already looked at multiple times, we're actually going to be looking at some of the other murals in the room that I don't typically talk about this time.
I pulled these images from the wiki. I think this is one of the first theories where I went to the wiki for images rather than just used screen caps of what I had on hand or just Googled it. You know, the wiki really is a great resource, and I was very biased against wikis for a while, for some reason.
In the central mural featuring Rose Quartz, we see her flanked by several small figures. It's been speculated that these figures are common gems that joined her cause. Some have even suggested that they're all garnets based on their very similar shape to Garnet herself.
Yeah, that
but
doesn't-
you'll
that
forgive me if
doesn't
I just
work.
go ahead and say that that's a ridiculous idea. But if this temple was created by Homeworld, and we know it was because of the insignia on the floor, then I can think of one group.
Yeah,
in
why
particular
would
that
they
Homeworld might
care to
portray
depict humans
simplistically,
accurately, right?
and that's humans. We know from evidence as recent as Hit the Diamond that Homeworld gems are basically unconcerned with humans. I firmly believe that these figures standing with Rose are intended to be human beings.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if they are, they're not to scale with Rose, but once again, this mural was drawn by Homeworld. Do you really think that Homeworld is going to pay as
Yeah.
much attention to
I really need to start
portraying
using
humans
these
as
again.
they do to accurately portraying gems? These tests seem to be what is being depicted here in these smaller murals. You have the group being tested here on the left, the test itself in the middle, and then an empty panel with no figures in it on the right, suggesting that no one survived the test. And considering that the figures portrayed here are the same ones portrayed above with Rose, the idea that these figures could be gems becomes absolutely ludicrous. I mean, yeah, these traps are dangerous, technically speaking even to gems, but the idea that no gem ever would survive any of these tests is ridiculous. These tests, in my opinion, could not have been built for any other purpose than to test the capabilities of humans in battle. And
even if we go back to the theory that the murals, like the upper murals in the temple, were prophecies, if a sapphire did prophesy that humans would fight with Rose at some point, then the murals on the wall of the supposed purpose of the temple could have been the reason. Like, the upper mural of the humans fighting with Rose could be why they did the stuff, why they built the temple to do the stuff in those lower murals, right? Because they're like, oh, this rebel is going to recruit humans to her side at some point. Maybe we should test whether or not these humans are a threat, right? I don't remember what else is in here, because that seems to have made my point pretty definitively. Oh, I theorize about the swords. Why would there have been, like, human scale swords if humans didn't fight with her? We know that those were mostly, like, Bismuth made those for smaller gems that didn't have, like, summonable weapons. Because, like, Pearl used to use them before she could summon her spear. So, actually, that's it for, I think, this one. I don't think we need to talk about the rest. Man, I should have revisited these a while ago, because I actually really like both of these theories. Which is weird. I usually, like, you guys know, I usually don't like my old stuff unless I'm being jokey about it. Like in my last one where we were discussing theories, where I I hope it came across that I was being like pompous for comedic effect and talking up how right I was about the diamonds. Like, I was fairly correct about the diamonds and what their roles were. But, like, I genuinely like these. I genuinely think these are really good. Let me know what you think, I guess. And straight up, man, I don't think either of these ideas directly contradicts the next one about it being about that, at least that central panel of the upper murals depicting events from the past events talked about in the Light video games. So let's look at this one real quick. Actually, I think I remember in this one, didn't I theorize that maybe they mistook Steven for Rose when they were making the mural? And that they were really depicting events of the games and not the events of that original battle? I think I talked about that somewhere. If that's the case, that's probably wrong. It probably was just depicting the events of that original battle that we hear about in some of the games. I don't remember, though, if I had played the final game before I made this theory. Oh, let's watch it. This one's a little longer, so this one should be pretty fun.
Fair warning, this video will contain major spoilers for the recently released Steven Universe game Save the Light.
Which ones were they? What were the names of all those games? Okay, yeah, Unleash the Light wasn't out yet. So this was made with only knowledge of the first two. Okay.
All of that said, I'd also like to thank one of my subscribers who actually gave me a suggestion which helped me to round this theory out into a complete video rather than the portion of a video that I'd originally planned for it to be.
Like, I don't really remember who you are at this point because I'm really bad with remembering people, but absolutely, if you still watch my stuff, thank you for that. I really do appreciate it.
First of all, let's get out of the way the idea that we have already seen Hessonite in the series. A lot of you have already pointed this out to me, so I'm going to actually go through it pretty quick. Even the wiki made note of this. In the episode Monster Reunion, when Centipede is drawing pictures of what happened during her time on Earth during the war, she draws a picture of...
Yeah, I love this detail.
We
Absolutely
don't
love
really
it.
get an idea of what this gem's proportions might be because it's effectively a stick figure. But we can see that she is depicted in orange, has a roughly squarish head, a sort of curly afro, and a chest gem, which is rectangular and sits vertically. Put her next to Hessonite, and you can see that Hessonite shares those same details. A roughly squarish head, a sort of curly afro, and a chest gem, rectangular in shape,
very cool,
and vertically. This gem was implied by Centipede's story to be her commander, and we know from Peridot in Save the Light that Hessonites are important military commanders.
And I think, don't we get confirmation of that? Yeah, just straight up, served a Hessonite commander. Doesn't, like, we don't know if it's specifically the same one, but yeah, that's just straight up correct. Not even a supposition anymore.
In fact, she points out that the Hessonite seen in the game is a war hero from the time of the rebellion, someone who fought against the crystal gems. That is certainly in line with Centipede's story, and considering that these two figures have the same gem placement, if the drawing by Centipede is of a Hessonite, it is almost certainly this Hessonite, which is pretty interesting, because this particular Hessonite comes to Earth to recover something which is said to be one of the weapons that she used against the crystal gems during the war. The Light Prism, a powerful sentient weapon that unleashes the primary antagonists of Attack the Light and is the central focus of the plot of Save the Light. So it stands to reason that if Hessonite has been in the show and is therefore canon to the show, that her weapon, this prism, would also be canon to the show. And in fact it is. and I think we've seen it. Keep in mind that my theory here is that the crew realized that they were never going to be able to tell this story that they had originally planned to tell at some point, and so worked with the game creators to fill in the gap.
As I
and therefore it stands to reason
mentioned before,
there will be retcons between the plot of the game and the original intention of the show.
Yeah.
Some details may not line up completely. I mentioned the Pyramid Temple mural, and that's because Hessonite and the Prism have some connection to the Pyramid Temple. In Save the Light, Hessonite does manage to get the Prism back. From this point on, throughout the rest of the game, Hessonite's goal was to try to get the Prism to turn into a more powerful form so that she can use it as a weapon. We know from dialogue between Pearl and Hessonite in the game that
very
Hessonite
good
did
dialogue,
fight
by the way.
Gems on many occasions. In fact, Rose Quartz specifically defeated her and took the Prism from her. That's why the Crystal Gems had possession of it in Attack the Light. Despite the fact that there were said to be many such prisms, at some point the removal of this specific prism from Hessonite's possession was of strategic importance. One of the places that Hessonite travels in this quest to get the prism to take on a more dangerous form is the original location of the Pyramid Temple. When the heroes follow her there, they find a secret entrance to another temple.
And it is by far one of the coolest moments in that game, if you're a lore nut who specifically is obsessed over this place as much as I have. It's so cool to find that other facility underneath it.
And the Pyramid Temple itself is full of symbolism linking it to the prism.
Yeah, like straight up, it's so hard to miss looking back on it. Like, we know that the crew had something to do with the planning of these games, right? So unless it's just a massive coincidence that the game designers designed all this stuff and then the crew slapped a story on top of it that just happened to work, like, I can't imagine why. I can't imagine how, rather, there isn't some connection here, because even this, I'm about to point out,
the pyramid-shaped key that Garnet summons to unlock the Pyramid Temple looks very much like the prism itself.
And, like, granted, it's just a pyramid. Pyramids are common shapes. But still, like,
the Pyramid Temple itself is shaped like the prism, and these still unknown gems from the mural each seem to either be holding the prism or to have a prism embedded into their body. Which brings us to what I think is the final answer to what is going on in this mural. I think that the mural depicts events that happened after Rose took the prism from Hessonite. I think that the three figures that up to this point we thought were gems are in fact other prisms.
Yeah.
That the object that Rose is holding here in this central panel is the prism that she got from Hessonite, and that she is using it to attempt to defeat one of the other prisms.
Like, the whole point of Attack the Light was reabsorbing constructs projected by a light prism into the light prism and therefore defeating them. Like, doesn't that look like that's what's happening here? Like, when has Rose ever wielded something that looked like that?
And that, in fact, the gem that was collected from the Pyramid Temple was that other prism.
Yep.
We saw in Sirius Steven that the platforms circling what we have up to this point been calling the Pyramid Temple gem were projections of light, as when the Pyramid Temple gem was removed, they all disappeared. This is entirely in line with the prism's ability to create constructs of light that seem to exist and behave independent of any gem, and can be called back to the prism later. And if we are to assume that some details included in the game were originally meant to end up in the show, the Pyramid Temple obelisk changing its face to smile at Steven could have been a nod to the fact that there was an intention for the prism to come to trust and appreciate Steven.
I like that detail. I'd forgotten about that. But that is, I think, a solid observation. Because, like, the working theory here is, like, as of this video, I don't know that this necessarily needs to be true anymore. I think we could probably reconcile all the light video game stuff happening in the main universe off screen. But, like, the main conceit of this video is that it's a split timeline.
This means that we can easily determine the divergence point between these two timelines. The events of Attack the Light are kicked off when Garnet returns to the temple with the prism. This means that if the prism does exist in the show's timeline, then Garnet either never foresaw that it would cause trouble and therefore never went to get it, or she went on a mission to get it at some point in time where Steven didn't see it and accidentally turned it on. Either way, nothing in the show so far contradicts the idea that the prism might exist, not some other prism like I speculate the Pyramid Temple gem to be, but the specific prism that was the antagonist of Attack the Light and the object of interest in Save the Light. This means that theoretically the events of Attack the Light and Save the Light could still happen in the show if the crew decides that they should.
Or they could have happened. They might have actually happened and we just never saw it.
I'm not going to lie, but I think the events of Save the Light just might. I think it's very possible that some version of the events of that game might make it into the show.
Unfortunately it didn't, though.
As far as I can tell, it was never explicitly said that Hessonite returned to Earth when she did because of the events of Attack the Light. From what I can tell, she just decided to come back and get the prism. If that's the case, she very well may do that in the show as well. The only reason I can think of why she wouldn't is that some key piece of information that she needed to make the decision never made it back to her in the show's timeline. But now we're getting into the realm of speculation, which means I'm going to go ahead.
Oh, honey, this whole thing's speculation. Just because I put theory in the title does not mean this is not all wild speculation.
And end it here. To recap, I think that we have
I don't need to recap. Man, I'm way more proud of these than I expected I would be. I think, like, technically speaking, like, again, yeah, these figures are depicted similarly, and I'm theorizing that this one is not a gem, so that kind of hampers the theory a little bit. But I think all three of these theories from today can coexist. Because, like, if the Pyramid Temple was a battle facility, like a facility where they were developing weapons, and they foresaw that humans were going to fight with Rose, like, I think they absolutely would have used part of this facility to test the combat capabilities of humans, while using the lower level facility to design a weapon that might be effective against a rogue gem. I don't know how the cluster fits into that, but like it could still be, these can all coexist. It's a bit of a stretch. Maybe I'll release a video down the line, the grand unifying Pyramid Temple theory. But yeah, I think these can all coexist. I'm pretty proud of all of them. I think it did a pretty good job. Which I need to tell myself that more often, frankly. It would probably help with my depression. Either way, what do you guys think of these? Do you see anything that I'm missing that would prevent these theories from coexisting with each other? Is there anything here specifically that you guys would like to see followed up on? Would you like me to do that grand unifying Pyramid Temple theory video? I'm totally up for it. Let me know in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, you might as well like the video, share it with anyone else you think would enjoy my content, subscribe if you haven't. You can also check out links to my various social medias, as well as the many ways you can help out the channel. Those will be in the video description. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.